ABC 10 News at 7 starts now.
9 months after passing the first relief bill, Congress has now reached a deal on another, and it may help financially for people who are desperate here in San Diego. The $900 billion bill includes $600 checks paid directly to Americans who qualify. It also includes a $300 boost in weekly unemployment benefits. That will last through March. And $300 billion will go to help small businesses.
Tonight, San Diego business owners say the bill is desperately needed, but it may not help as much as the last stimulus bill. Our ABC 10 News reporter John Horn explains why the package is inspiring signs of relief and frustration.
You know, you always think you're going to survive and be in business.
But David Hine wasn't sure if his 2 La Jolla restaurants would make it through the pandemic.
We get SDG&E invoices, we get water invoices. We have to pay our insurance, liability insurance, workers' comp. That all continues.
Hine's family owns Brockton Villa and Beaumont's, down to a handful of workers. One reason they even made it this far, a forgivable federal stimulus loan that helped pay the bills back in the spring. That first round of aid also boosted unemployment checks and made direct payments to millions of Americans. It's now winter, and all of that has been gone for months. This new stimulus package looks similar, but the cash payments have been cut in half amid deficit concerns. Under the new package, San Diegans who earned up to $75,000 in 2019 would get the full $600 payment with reduced amounts for higher incomes. Unemployed San Diegans would also see $300 boosts on their checks starting the week of December 26th through March 14th.
I think it's got to be more. This is a really serious situation. Businesses are going out of business.
But Hine says he's relieved, even if he doesn't get as big of a stimulus loan.
Obviously, with that coming, it gives us more confidence to close and that we'll be able to pay our bills.
And eventually hire back the 42 employees he just laid off. John Horn, ABC 10 News.
And the congressional relief bill was passed in the House just within the last hour. It needs to pass in the Senate now before moving on to the president's desk for his signature. Besides trying to oversee California's fight against the pandemic, Governor Gavin Newsom has a major political battle on his hands tonight. Organizers who are trying to force a recall election claim that they are picking up steam. They're working to get the signatures they need right now. And our ABC 10 News reporter Jared Aarons compares their effort to the successful 2003 recall that kicked out Gray Davis.
Governor Newsom has already faced a handful of recall efforts during his time in office, but all of those failed before they ever reached voters. The people behind this latest effort tell me they have the support they need to succeed.
He's done this to himself.
Randy Economy, the senior advisor to Recall Gavin 2020, says the governor's mismanagement of business shutdowns during the pandemic is the driving force behind their effort to oust him.
More people have suffered who are the heart and soul of California and the backbone of our economy. And we basically have had it and said, now is the right time for the recall.
The recall's website says they have around 800,000 of the 1.5 million signatures required to get to the ballot box, although state records only show 500,000. Economy says they're not using any paid signature gatherers. Instead, they're relying on a grassroots movement through their website.
You can download the petition. You can sign it in your home. You can have your family members sign it. You can have your neighbors sign it.
But that may not be enough. Newsom still has high approval ratings, and UC San Diego political science chair Thad Kauser points to the 2003 recall of Gray Davis, where a big donation from Darrell Issa and a big-name challenge from Arnold Schwarzenegger led to success. This recall, he says, has neither.
Without the money that it takes to set in place the machinery of direct democracy in California, we're not going to see a recall come to fruition.
In a statement in June, Newsom said the recall organizers want to, quote, bring Washington's broken government to California. The last thing California needs is another wasteful special election supported by those who demonize California's people and attack California's values. Economy's response?
This man has the audacity to be able to lecture us on politics and how he has been able to conduct himself behind closed doors. How dare he?
The Recall Gavin 2020 group has until March 17th to gather signatures. If they get enough, the recall would happen sometime this summer. Jared Aarons, ABC 10 News.
And those recall supporters say that Newsom's French Laundry dinner gave them a boost. They got endorsements from Republican Newt Gingrich and Mike Huckabee. And here are the latest coronavirus numbers. The county reported more than 3,200 more new cases today. That brings our total to nearly 130,000. 3 new deaths were also reported. More than 1,200 San Diegans have died from this virus.
Right now, the governor's scientific advisors are meeting to discuss who will be next in line to get the vaccine. The CDC recommends the next group be people 75 and older and certain essential workers. ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl shows why one of the biggest questions involves when to vaccinate teachers.
Once we finish vaccinating frontline healthcare workers and people in nursing homes, it'll be on to phase 1B. The CDC says that group should include about 21 million Americans aged 75 and up, and essential workers, about 30 million of them. That essential worker category includes a range of industries, from grocery store workers to police officers to teachers. But ultimately, it'll be up to states and local health departments to figure out how to order those industries.
I feel like we're on a organ transplant committee deciding who gets the liver and gets to survive. It's a tough decision.
Dr. Christian Ramers is a member of San Diego County's Vaccine Advisory Group.
But we want to stick really to who has the highest risk of catching the disease because of the constant exposure that they have, and then who has the highest risk of dying of the disease. Those are really the two main driving principles that we're trying to balance.
A lot of states are struggling with when to vaccinate teachers. Nevada's preliminary plan is to put teachers and transit workers ahead of food and retail workers. Louisiana, on the other hand, plans to vaccinate prison guards and food processing workers before teachers. Toby Boyd is the president of the California Teachers Association.
And I really hate that idea that we are pitted against other essential workers because, as you just said, they're essential. So there's an important need for them.
There are several considerations at play. On one hand, there's agreement that kids are better off at school, educationally and emotionally.
In return, it's going to help economically because it's going to allow parents to go back into the workforce without worrying about their child.
But on the other hand, education can happen virtually, while jobs like policing, firefighting, and food processing cannot.
A school environment, you can basically control the environment with your policies, with changing your air conditioning system, with mandatory masking. Whereas somebody who's in a taco truck, that's the general public. And might be at higher risk when we actually get to those detailed discussions.
At a meeting last week, California's Vaccine Advisory Group said it would weigh factors like occupational exposure, risk of severe disease, inability to work at home, and economic necessity when figuring out the order for Phase 1B. The group is still deciding how teachers, food workers, and emergency service workers will stack up. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.
The California Department of Public Health told ABC 10 News its focus remains on the distribution of the vaccine to people in Phase 1A. They tell us the framework of the next phase should be finalized in the coming days. You can use the free ABC 10 News app to track the latest coronavirus developments, from stimulus checks to vaccine distribution. Find it in the App Store.
We have a crime alert out of El Cajon tonight. Police are looking for a man who stole a car with a toddler inside. Police say the child's mother was just unloading groceries today with the engine running. Her 3-year-old was still in the car. That's when a man jumped in and drove off. He abandoned the car outside a business at Front and Palm. Fortunately, the child was still safely inside. We're told the thief is still on the loose tonight. The description is vague.